Hey everyone, and welcome to the first episode of How I Market. My name is Kristen Corey, and I am the owner of Media Books. And my goal really with Media Books is to help accounting firms that deserve to be known have their story told. There is so much marketing noise out there telling you what you should do, what you shouldn't do, that you need to post on all the platforms 10 times a day. You need this app, and now you need AI. And it's frankly just overwhelming. And my goal with How I Market is to essentially create conversations with other accounting firm owners who have figured out a marketing strategy that works for them. I want to talk with them directly. I want to have casual conversations and kind of cut all that noise that you hear about what you should and shouldn't be doing with marketing. What are real accountants out there doing? And I cannot think of someone better to talk to for that than Josie Parr. Josie Parr is a CPA, and she is a tax expert and strategist with over 20 years of experience. She began her career at a top 100 accounting firm, working with businesses generating millions of dollars in revenue, refining her skills in tax strategy. She discovered a passion for helping service-based businesses increase cash flow and profitability through strategic tax planning. In 2019, she founded Josie Parr CPA LLC, a niche practice focused on tax strategy for coaches and consultants. In her first year, she tripled her revenue goals and reduced her workload hours to a part-time schedule. And while also working in all these areas, she has a love for tax strategy for small business owners. She is also the founder of the Solo Tax Coach and the Profitable Lifestyle Firm Summit, where she aims to empower other tax professionals to transform into tax strategists by elevating their current skills and knowledge using the same proven systems and methods that brought her success. I mean, what a bio. This is the first interview I'm doing for the How I Market series, and again, like I said, I can't think of anyone better to talk to, and I think she's really going to be an excellent person to help set the tone for this new series, where I help you learn marketing strategies that are working for accounting firms today. Okay, so thanks so much for joining me, Josie. But for people that don't know you, we just heard your bio. In a few words, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, more on a personal level?
Wow. So, we have the bio and all of the important, credentials and everything like that. And personally, I think I'm always a little bit of a tax geek at heart. Like that's what I really like to do. Mm-hmm. People tell me I'm too serious and I'm always kind of looking at that kind of stuff, but I really enjoy that kind of work. Yeah. And just being in the environment with other accountants, other people that are in the profession. So I don't know if that makes me not fun at a party, but I think it's a really good representation of what I really like to do. And I think a lot of accountants are like that. We just have this way of wanting to be organized and kind of wanting to do fun things. If you're asking what I do in my free time, I have 2 children and they keep me really busy. Every time I talk about them, it sounds like they're 5, but they're actually adults. But as a mom, I just can't seem to let go of that. So
yeah, awesome. Well, that's the thing. That's really kind of the idea of this, podcast interview series, is that for the people that feel kind of maybe boring in type A, you're into kind of the tax work and all this analytical, technical stuff. How do we really get into marketing and feel like we need to do this role and run sales and all these different kind of more creative departments as a business owner? But our love is in the spreadsheets. So tell me a little bit about kind of your background of marketing, sales. What experience do you have there?
So I don't have any formal type of marketing degree. I've never taken a formal marketing course. I really think what I have done is watched other leaders to see what they're doing, especially when I became my own firm. When you're brand new and you're starting out, budget matters, right? Yeah. So there was no big budget for me to market. So I used the experience I had from, working in a large firm for years, watching others, seeing what others were doing in the industry. And that's what I came up with. And I think my marketing background is a collection of all of those pieces that I learned through the years, watching other people sell things, watching other people, market and asking them what they're doing. That's really what it is. And then at the end of the day, it was just hunkering down and trying things out. And if, a lot of people recognize my name associated with the Profitable Lifestyle Firm Summit, that is one of the ways I've learned to market. And the whole reason I did that was so I didn't have to market. I know I didn't think that through, but I basically was sort of forced into figuring out how to market a summit. So that can be a way to get into it if you don't have a formal background.
Yeah, yeah. And so you kind of learn from all these mentors, very much like kind of bootstrap business. I think that's a really great way, especially when you're getting started. Do you remember any of the people that really made a big impact on you in those early days?
There are things that I do that I can attribute specifically to specific people.
Yeah.
And it's not always even in marketing, like for my career specifically, but we had a gentleman, he was the head of our tax department, and he was just like a sales machine. I mean, he just had so much finesse. And every time he talked, he made tax sound so easy.
Hmm.
And it was really helpful to me as I went through and started to, go along with him to proposals and sales meetings, right? That's all
Yeah.
marketing, to watch how he dealt with those clients. And then I tried to mimic it as much as I could until I had my own style. I remember specifically watching the dynamic between a team in sales, watching people work back and forth,
Yeah.
which is really important too. I think a lot of us start out as single, maybe firm owners, or maybe we don't have a staff right away. But once you actually have somebody else that's alongside you. So yeah, I mean, there's a couple people that I think have really helped me become good at sales. So
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you started your business in 2019. How did you get your first client?
So I had some clients that I had along the way.
Okay.
So my very first client was completely by accident.
Hmm.
And I think this is a really key point that if anyone's listening today and they're like, I don't know how to get my first client, right? I wasn't trying to get a client.
Yeah.
I was just talking to somebody and they asked me a question about finding a new CPA. We were at like a Christmas party, a company
Uh,
Christmas party, not my company,
yeah.
just another Christmas party. And they were so nervous about switching. And I said, listen, and they weren't local. They were in a different state. They were
Right.
just traveling and visiting. I said, anyone that's a good CPA can take you. So I know you're nervous about switching, but really once they get your history and their tax returns, you can work with them. And that led into them calling me out of the blue like a week later. It's like, will you be our accountant? So
Yeah.
so sometimes we get so wrapped up in trying to find a client that we forget that what really helps us find clients is actually just giving them the answers that they want.
Yeah, yeah. And so that was kind of your first experience getting your first client, having to, wow, I got to set up proposals, and I'm sure you didn't have any of that
Oh,
ready
no,
to go.
no, no.
Yeah, yeah, Googling like how do I create you're an accountant, you probably know how to create an invoice. But let's say, okay, so you have that first client. What shift did you make when you were trying to find clients? Was there kind of a time where you're like, okay, I need clients. All I have is my computer. Where did you start?
Well, so I'm a big fan of local marketing, and I know many people want to go online.
Yeah.
And you might think, oh, how nice, Josie, because you tell everyone you're virtual now. And I kind of am, but I still get a lot of my clients locally.
Yeah.
And when I was looking for clients, I just told people I was looking for clients.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
it doesn't have to be super complicated. You do have to go a little bit further. You have to know what type of clients you want, right? A random blanket of send me any client
Hmm.
means you'll get any client, which when you want revenue, sometimes that may not, you might be like, I'm okay with that. But really, if you're actually trying to build something and make it so that it's sustainable for yourself long term, you need to know that. But really, I just went out, networked at the places you would expect, the local chamber, some affinity groups, and told people that I was building a business.
Yeah. Yeah. And just kind of getting your face out there saying, hey, I'm taking on work. Otherwise, people don't know you exist. So was there a game-changing move in your business where you feel like, okay, maybe I figured it out?
For me, the game changing move was understanding who I was looking for as a client.
Mm-hmm.
So when I could go out locally and articulate very clearly who I was or was not looking for,
Yeah.
that made it very, very easy to get more of the right client. So if you don't know what you're selling, how can you sell it?
Yeah.
Right? I said that wide blanket. So for me, that was the most effective thing. And then I could build my entire marketing strategy around it. And when I say that, it sounds like I had, some spreadsheet, which I have some amped up spreadsheets, but I didn't for marketing. I didn't.
Yeah.
But what I did was I'm like, all right, so this is what I'm doing. That's what I was starting to tell people. And then when I made a website, that's what I put on it, right? Whenever I met someone or I was in an environment that would, give me the opportunity to say what I did, I then used that clarifying ideal client for my entire strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, part of our web design process. Whenever we design websites for people, we have an intake. And part of the intake is asking, things like what's your email, what's your calendar link, all those. But we also ask what your services are and who do you want to work with. And whenever there's like a pause or they don't know, it makes the rest of the project really stressful because whatever we create, they don't know if it's actually hitting the target because they don't know who they want to work with or who they want to work for. They don't know what services. And so usually the services are really high level, the language is very general, which there's nothing wrong with that, I think, when you're getting started. But it can also feel like just something feels off, or I feel like I'm going to need to change this. And you probably will, just because it is so general. What did you do as far as like branding and figuring out who you want to work with? Was it a lot of like introspective work, like thinking, okay, who do I like working with? Or was it like trial and error? I'm going to take these clients and just keep the ones I like.
Basically, I just did it wrong at first and had a bunch of clients
Yeah.
and I couldn't serve them because I wanted revenue
Mm-hmm.
and I set parameters and boundaries for myself. I didn't take everything that came through the door, but I took a lot of stuff I probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You're starting out, you don't have a lot, and I'm like, and someone said, "Oh, can you do this?" "Oh, yeah, I know how to do that." "Oh, can you do this?" "Yeah, I know how to do that." And before I knew it, I had all these very different projects that I really wasn't profitable on because I had to kind of create systems and processes for each.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I've got to narrow my focus down. I've got to pick out what I want. And I didn't go directly to the niche that I'm doing now, but I did start to narrow it down. And for me, the focus was I want to work with business owners. I wanted to do tax only, just tax and tax strategy. And I basically only wanted to work with people I liked.
Yeah.
It wasn't complicated, right? Like
Yeah.
I didn't just say, okay, if someone calls me up and says they want services, they get them. It was like, do I also want to work with them?
Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely. So when it comes to, okay, you figure out who you want to work with, people that you like, you maybe do some trial and error, figure out what you like. You kind of have an idea. Do you outsource your marketing? Have you ever outsourced your marketing?
So I have outsourced a few times, and I did some outsourcing where someone wrote some posts for me and then they scheduled them, and that worked nicely. What I found was I didn't want or need to post online as much as the service offered because I was finding my referrals really with word of mouth, and I was growing slowly. I was very targeted. So I did that for a while, but I stopped it just because I wasn't really using all of the posts and things like that. That's my direction. I think if that's what you want to do, I really like that service. I also outsourced for my website, and that actually was not a great experience. I had a copywriter who continued to use language that just didn't resonate with me. I probably should have called you, right? And it was a stressful experience instead of a good experience. Because every time I thought of what I wanted my brand and persona to be, they kind of kept using language that felt like it didn't represent me at all, to the point where it was language that not only did it not represent me, but I would have personally not hired me if I saw that language on someone's web page.
Yeah.
So I've had good and bad. So my takeaway from that would be, definitely look to do it, especially if it's not something you want to do, right? Let some of the experts handle it.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, make sure you're choosing the right kind of resource, and that's hard. It could have just been luck of the draw.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything seemed good up front. I ended up with a great website when it was all said and done, but I did have to kind of pull back a little bit on some of the services I was looking for.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I mean, kind of like I said, when we have clients versus the start, you're farther in your business, you were able to notice that language was off, probably a lot just because of the experience that you had working with clients and knowing what you wanted to say and what you didn't want to say. And so it could be hard, I think, especially in the beginning, trying to figure out the right groove. Okay, so you've done some outsourcing. It kind of, it's worked from time to time. But do you have a favorite social media platform that when you are posting, you kind of focus on?
So I focus the most on Facebook right now, and that's
Hmm.
because I think I spend some time there personally as well.
Yeah.
So that's where I do a lot of my marketing when I do that. But I post on all three. Once you figure out how to do it, I mean, if you're making up a graphic or something, it takes like 3 seconds in Canva, or if you're using someone that does social media, you
Hmm.
can kind of post everywhere. I'm probably not the best person when you think about marketing from a consistency perspective. I've still been successful. That's not probably what the marketers want to hear. They want you to do it successfully, right? However, what I've found is having a successful message when it is out there has been enough for me.
Yeah.
So what you'll find if you follow me or watch me is it might be some intermittent marketing, but when I do, I go onto all three platforms.
Yeah. Yeah. And so have you tried to figure out a way to maybe stay in touch with your audience? So you had the Profitable Lifestyle Firm Summit. Is there like a platform you direct people to that you particularly, Facebook is kind of the one where you're trying to collect people, or just is it on and off?
So if when people are signing up, when they're looking, I usually have all of my socials there so they could find me on the one that they're at, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram.
Hmm.
My goal is to use Instagram a little bit more. I feel like I'm
Hmm.
finding that some of my clients are there. So when you're choosing a platform, I think it's a little bit more than just the one that you like matters. That
Yeah.
really matters. If you hate something and it's going to cause you not to do it, and another one will work, maybe you graduate to that one later. But for me, like Facebook, I'm like, okay, I know how to do that. I know how to post.
Yeah.
But I've not really spent time doing the cross posting when really, if I'm doing it on Facebook, Instagram's like not even a second, right? So
Yeah.
I just haven't done that. So you can graduate to those. But yeah, I'm sorry. What was the original question? I thought I
Oh,
digressed there.
uh, yeah. I forgot what my original question was. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, you made some great points that like if you're posting on one platform, um, it is easiest to get it into a habit if you already like the platform and you're used to it. I'm on Instagram. It's probably the social media platform I'm most active on. And Facebook is kind of very similar in just a little bit of the tone and the formatting and all that. LinkedIn is where you kind of have to put on your blazer and, build an inspirational story and hope it goes viral.
It's funny that you say that because I think I spend less time on LinkedIn because it reminds me of my suit days, right? At the
Yeah.
formal firm. And, I'm like, oh, I'm like, I love the feeling I have working with the kind of people I work with now, whether they're my clients or the people that I coach. And, I hear you. And
Yeah.
so, anyone that wants to, here, I'll do some marketing right now. Find me on Instagram,
Yeah.
start following me
There
so I
you
have
go.
more followers,
Yeah.
so that I have pressure, right? Put
Right.
pressure on yourself too. That's not a bad way to do it, right?
Yeah.
So every single thing I've started, I kind of told people I was going to do it before I did. So I'm going to be on Instagram next year.
Yeah.
Follow me and find me.
There you go. Yeah, we're gonna link her channel in the show notes. Go give her a follow. Yeah, no,
I'm sorry. I was kind of joking, but if it works, go for it,
no, yeah,
right?
yeah, go follow her on LinkedIn. Yeah, no, I think or Instagram.
Instagram.
Instagram. Oh my gosh, I'm thinking. Yeah, that's the thing.
It's
There's so
okay.
many. There's so many platforms. And
Well,
I
I
like
don't think you have to be on all of them
no.
because I'm here 5 years in,
Yeah.
really not spending a lot of time on all of them, and I'm meeting the goals that I want. I'm exceeding them
Hmm.
from depending on what that specific metric is, and I am not doing everything that everybody says. I don't think you have to.
No, no. It's it's extremely overwhelming to manage all social media platforms for one business just for a marketer. Because I mean, all the platforms, I mean, like we've just talked about, we talked about how Instagram and Facebook has a very different tone than LinkedIn. So now you're having to write different content multiple times a week. And the bar of creating good content is just getting higher. I mean, with AI, I'm rambling, but
You're
yeah,
okay. Yeah, you're exactly right, though.
yeah.
You are.
Yeah, it's, I mean, that, like you said, pick a platform you're really comfortable with. And I agree with you. I think I've been on Instagram more than LinkedIn. And it's just, I think that's where you find people that, like you, I mean, like, want to work with people they enjoy working with. And I think LinkedIn is a little bit more corporate. It's where I think you find bigger clients, and absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm sure you can find plenty of people on there you like working with. But you know, if you were an attendee of the Profitable Lifestyle Firm Summit and you noticed my kid walking into the background in his diaper, you may be like, okay, like maybe she's a little bit more casual. That's the thing. I like working with people that are kind of more casual, more low key, and I find that more on Instagram personally. But yeah. So one thing that you mentioned is referrals. They're a common way for accountants to grow their business. You guys really need to build trust more so than probably as much as like lawyers and doctors. How do you encourage referrals when it comes to like getting new clients? Do you just email your current clients and say, "Hey, can you connect me with anyone?" Or what's your kind of strategy there?
So I think I do it in a couple different ways. One of the first ways I told you I do a lot of local networking. So
Mhm.
whenever I'm out, when I meet referral sources, I make sure I'm clear on what works for me. And it's not like it's a one-sided conversation, but when you have the
Mhm.
opportunity to present that, I'm just real clear about what that is. So, and I'll tell them if you have any referrals, send them my way. I also, for my clients, I ask them, I say, oh, if you know somebody else, by all means, send them along. With that type of, it's kind of, I market kind of casually with referrals because I've
Yeah.
got a couple of really strong resources that I've built through the years.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to realize. We're accountants and not all of us like to be around people all of the time, right? So
Yeah.
this might be, you just might be like listening to this to try and find one nugget of something that can save you from all of this marketing. And I would say that is, if you put time and effort into finding a few strong referral sources that are sending you the right clients, that can be enough. I mean, if you want to grow a 5, 10, $15 million firm, you're probably going to have to use a more sophisticated plan. But if you're a solo practitioner like me, talk to those attorneys, the bankers, other bookkeepers if you're doing just tax like me. That will really help you with those referral sources. And I've built a business from using resources like that. And I'll tell you that I've trained my referral sources. So when you
Yeah.
think about referral sources, I know this isn't your question, but this is what I would like to share, that I've basically trained my referral sources. Most of them will actually reach out to me first and say, hey, we know you're very selective. Is this the right type of client for you?
Oh,
So they're
wow.
out there vetting them for me
Yeah. That's nice.
before they even send them.
Yeah.
But I'm very clear. I'm like, hey, I work with a very specific type of client,
Mhm.
and when I do, I can save them anywhere between $10,000 to $50,000 in tax on average per year. They must be a business owner, and they really need to be interested in utilizing tax strategies to help grow and scale their businesses.
Yeah.
And I just say that, and I let people know that I have boundaries too. It's a little different when you're talking to a client than when you're talking to just a referral source.
Mhm.
But I share those boundaries. I only take clients during certain times of the year, and I let them know that. I'm like, hey, just to let you know, when they call me, I'm like, I'm not taking any more clients. If it's January, call me in May.
Yeah.
I'm capped out. I'm not going to take any more.
Yeah.
That lends to a different type of practicing because a lot of people show up in January. So, that may not work for everyone, but that's
Yeah.
been working for me.
Yeah. I like that boundary because I imagine that's a much more peaceful way to go through tax season, just kind of knowing what to expect and like this is what I'm working on. And there's no like, you know, April 10th calls like, "Hey, can you have this done in 2 days?" Like I imagine it's a lot more manageable.
It is, and it's more pleasant
Yeah.
for everybody involved.
Yeah.
The clients are not going to think about their taxes when we want them to think about it,
Hmm.
right? So we want them to think about it when it's a quarterly estimate or year end or, in April, whatever that is. We want them to be, on our time schedule. We've got all of these due dates, but that's not how clients do this, right? So when you're marketing, you need to understand that, while year-round marketing is great, there's going to be a certain time where people's ears are going to perk up. Probably not July when they're out on the beach, right?
Hmm.
It's going to be towards the end of the year when they're willing to start shifting into tax season.
Hmm.
They're willing to start shifting into thinking about what they need to do. There's a boundary with that. But on the flip side, if you make it clear when you're talking to people earlier on, or they come to you in early November and you say, okay, but if you're not signed on by December, we'll have to wait until May, people will make their decision then. And that's
Yeah.
kind of how I do that. So
Okay.
not sure if that's helpful for others, but that really works well for me.
Yeah, yeah. And I did have another question when it comes to referrals. Do you do any sort of commission for referrals, or is it purely like, hey, I'm here if you find the right client?
I do not have a formal referral system. I know some people use formal referral systems. I do not.
Hmm.
There's a lot of referral sources I have that part of the reason we work well together is because we have mutual clients, because
Mm.
I really like the attorney that I work with, the local attorney, right?
Yeah.
I have a couple bankers that we work really well with, when they're getting financing, et cetera, right? So for those clients, typically we'll send thank yous and things like that. Maybe a bottle of wine or something like that. But for the most part, it's not a formal system. When I do my coaching program, it's actually a little different. I actually do a full referral system for that, which is a great reminder that it depends who you're serving, right?
Yeah.
So in my firm, when I'm serving those types of clients and working with those referral sources, it's not always expected that there's going to be anything other than this business arrangement, right? Where you're, fitting your clients to the right resource, and then on the flip side, them fitting them to your service.
Sure, sure.
Whereas for the coaching business, not that it's not like that, and I think people refer, but there's just something about that little bit of extra incentive that people like doing that, and I
Hmm.
find that it works really well as a thank you, because you're not really beyond that. There may be no other relationship beyond that transactional. Those are
Yeah.
more transactional than my consistent referrals that go year after year after year.
Okay. Okay. And so that's actually a good transition. You have this monthly membership program called the Tax Pro Society. What advice do you give, or if you give, to your tax membership clients about marketing?
So I think one of the most common questions I get, there's two of them. How much do you charge, and how do I get clients? And I always tell people pretty much the same story I told you about how do I
Mm.
get clients. But I do not really have a formal, this is the, 15 steps that you need to do to market for your clients.
Yeah.
It's what we work on in that membership is about it's a community that's meant for us to first learn. So we touch on everything that's important in the tax industry. That really varies. Sometimes it's technical, sometimes it's things like how do I market and how do I
Yeah.
price. I bring guests in to do some of the speaking on marketing because I don't have a formal background, and I think they're really good for that. And then we share, right? So we collaborate. So other people will share what marketing they're using, what's been successful, what's not been successful. And I think that's really helpful because we all have different practices, right? I
Yeah.
said I'm working with small business owners, that want tax strategy. What if you are also trying to get bookkeeping, or you are only doing high net worth individuals, or those maybe that don't have strategy or high net worth? So we share that information too. We collaborate together
Yeah.
to utilize not only the information we have, but the other information. So not really formal
Hmm.
in the sense of doing that. And then the whole goal is for everybody to grow and scale at the pace that they want to do that. So when we combine all three of those together, while I don't think it's formal, I do think it helps build up marketing for those that are in the membership.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, especially when you're kind of in those monthly membership, trying to figure out your business processes, a formal marketing plan, it may just not I understand if that's not your primary focus at the time. As long as you're showing up, networking, making new connections, I think that's a great way to start learning. So awesome. Well, thank you so much, Josie, for joining me today. I know a lot of accountants are going to find this valuable when just trying to figure out how do they manage their own marketing, how do they, find a marketer, find their next client. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. And I know all the marketers hate me, but like I feel like I feel like you can market your own way and still be successful
Yeah.
and not follow the rules. If you want to hear more about that, just hit me up, send me an email, do that connection. What do we say on
Yeah.
Instagram?
Yeah.
Let me know, and I'm happy to share more about it.
Yeah.
Formality doesn't always mean success,
Hmm.
and I think, like you said, you're casual. I think sometimes having casual can really help you be successful. So
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Awesome. Thanks so much, Josie.
thank you.
Bye.